You're in the sweet spot, baby. You're in the sweet spot, girl. You're in the sweet spot, darling. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world. You're in the sweet spot, baby. You're in the sweet spot, girl. You're in the sweet spot, darling. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world. You're in the sweet spot, baby. You're in the sweet spot, girl. You're in the sweet spot, darling. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world.
Welcome to the Sweet Spot Podcast. My name is Lynn, your host, and Ken is my co-host. Ken, what's going on?
Oh, Lynn, it is going. I am so happy to be here for this episode. We are the number one Disneyland podcast hosted by two former Disneyland Day Custodial Foremen.
We are. That is true.
We are number one. Yeah, so I am so happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to this. So thank you for having me.
Yes, and we are also authors. We have 2 books out, all about our experiences working at Disneyland and behind the scenes in the custodial department at Disneyland. You can get those. They're called Cleaning the Kingdom. You can get both books on our website, thesweepspot.com, or you can get them on Amazon. The digital versions, like through Kindle, I think you can find those on Amazon too, or through Kindle and Apple digital books. The audiobook, the first one is on audio. You can find that where you find audiobooks. The second book, as far as audio, will be out in the fall sometime. And unless you're going to be at D23, hint, hint. So, also, we have a Patreon for people that want to help support the show and be a part of what we're doing. And we have some cool little perks. If you do that, you can receive 1 bonus episode per month that Ken and I both record on a topic that we discuss. And also, you get to participate in the current events as we record them live once a month, as we are going to do tonight.
Yes.
So you can join in the chat.
Great perk. Yeah.
Yeah, you can chat, leave a message, and I will leave that message on, or read the message on as we're recording to be a part of the conversation. So the people that have done it so far have really enjoyed it. So if you are a Patreon and you pay for that perk, you may want to join us. If you're not, you may want to sign up and join us. You can do that at patreon.com, search the Sweep Spot, or go to our website, sweepspot.com, and there's a link on there for that. We do have 2 new Patreons that I wanted to recognize.
Hey.
And the first one is Brenda and Kurt W.
Hey, thank you, Brenda and Kurt.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And we also have another one. Keith. I'm always butchering these names. Sorry. Keith Bucksack. So let's say Keith B. Thank you so much, Keith. I really appreciate it.
We need to sell shirts that say, the Sweep Spot butchered my name,
Yes.
or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do. Well, anyways, so yeah, and we're also going to be, as we had mentioned, at D23 Expo, and that's September 9th through the 11th.
Yes.
So that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll be there all 3 days, sharing a booth with our good friends, fellow authors there.
Yes, there's a lot to see at that expo. There's a lot to see.
There is a lot to see.
So come by and come by.
Too much to see sometimes. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, anyways, who is our guest tonight, Ken?
Nobody.
Okay.
No, I mean, sometimes we do the show without a guest, but not tonight. We have Scott Girard, okay, and he was a Disneyland cast member, but then he went on to Imagineering, and he was a landscape architect for Imagineering. So this is going to be a lot of fun talking with him. So that'll be great.
It will be great. All right. Well, before we do that, though, we're going to get right into the current events. Now we're going to have the current events. Ken, do you have anything for us?
I really don't, Lynn.
Okay.
That's it. Let's just get to the main part of the show. No, actually, we do have some stuff to talk about. The Orange County Register has the story from Brady McDonald. The Tiana's Bayou Adventure ride replaces Splash Mountain at Disneyland in 2024. And as he reports it, Tiana's Bayou Adventure attractions will replace the Splash Mountain water rides at Disneyland and Florida's Magic Kingdom in late 2024, according to Disney officials. By the way, we're being joined by our Patreon supporters in the chat room. Yeah. So we will refer to some of their comments as we go along here. So if you want to do that next time and join them, then you should sign up for our Patreon. Okay, the new attraction name and opening date were announced by Disney officials on Friday, July 1st, at Preservation Hall in New Orleans during the Essence Festival of Culture. Walt Disney Imagineering has traveled to Louisiana and New Orleans during research trips for the revamped ride to work with academics, musicians, chefs, local experts, and cultural institutions. I'd like to work with chefs down in New Orleans.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Send me down there for some research. I'm going to research gumbo. Or, jambalaya. I'm going to research jambalaya. Send me down there for that.
Yeah.
In many ways, Tiana's Bayou Adventure is a love letter to New Orleans. Sharita Carter, Imagineering executive producer of Relevancy Activations, said in a statement. Now, let me reread that title there. Okay. Imagineering executive producer of Relevancy Activations, said in a statement. Okay. Like the musical city that inspired this attraction, Tiana's second act is about a community working in harmony to achieve something extraordinary. She reminds us of an immutable truth we can all relate to. If you do your best each and every day, good things are sure to come your way. And that's a melody we can all sing along to. End quote. Tony Award-winning actress Anika Noni Rose, who voiced Princess Tiana in the movie, let the 2024 opening date slip out in early June during an appearance on Live with Ryan and Kelly. Call me a cynic, but I don't think that was a mistake. They make it sound like, oh, oops, I wasn't supposed to say that. No, those, almost nothing that happens on those talk shows is an accident. They know what they're going to talk about ahead of time. So anyway, I think that was kind of, it's good publicity to do things that way. So that's, it gets attention.
Yeah.
It worked. Yeah. Disneyland and Disney World have not yet announced closing dates for the classic log flume rides on both coasts. Further details about the twin makeovers of the Splash Mountain rides are expected to be revealed during the D23 Expo in September at the Anaheim Convention Center, where the authors of Cleaning the Kingdom and the co-hosts of the Sweep Spot podcast will have a table. They didn't have that last part in the story. I added that, but
they should.
They should have had that in the story. No, here's the thing. As we're recording, it's still early July. That is over 2 months away, right?
Yes.
A lot can happen with the economy between now and then. And even after they announce it, a lot can happen with the economy. And I've lived through enough economic cycles to know that nothing is concrete at Disneyland except for Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain is concrete. But you never know for sure something's going to happen until it does. So, who knows? There's a lot that can happen, because it seems to me that if the company starts going, we better cut back spending, which happens if there's like a recession or something.
Right.
If they start doing that, then, it seems to me like, are they going to go ahead and spend money renovating and overhauling an attraction that is not neglect? I mean, there's a lot. The wait the other day was like 3 hours for Splash Mountain.
It's not like it's not like it's declining popularity.
Right. It's not like, so they have to sit there. Some of them have to sit there and go, why would we spend money on that? I mean, if they do renovate it, if they do go through with this project, it's still going to be extremely popular. Even if people say, well, I prefer, the old Splash Mountain, it's still going to be popular because it's just the nature of the attraction. It's a log flume with a nice big drop at the end of it. And that's a lot of fun. And whatever they call it, people are still going to call it Splash. That's just like people would call the Country Bear show. They would call that Bear Band. Right. But I understand they got to come up with a new name for it. They can't call it Splash Mountain. They've got to call it. You can't have a mountain and bayou in the same title. But is anybody saying anything in the chat rooms about this?
Oh yeah. So John said, "How long do you think this will take? Guess it depends on how many animals they recycle from Splash Mountain." And Christine also added, "I would hope they update all the animatronics." And John said, "Well, they reimagined the logs, a new vehicle for the flume? Question mark. I do wonder how the logs will change." Christine said, "So I don't think they would change the ride vehicles."
Well, do they currently have Brer Rabbit on the front of the vehicle? I mean, that's a
thought, yeah.
That they might replace that with a different thing,
That's true. But I would imagine they're going to use as many of the animatronics they can. They might have to reskin some, meaning change who they are, what they look like.
Right.
Because
they all end up looking like Drew Carey and Jackie Chan. No, it's just
what? The limo.
It's a reference to Superstar Limo.
Superstar Limo, that's
which
funny.
is now Monsters Incorporated, Mike and Sully to the rescue.
What will it be next? Yeah.
Maybe they could move some of the skins for the animatronics from Splash Mountain over to Superstar Limo and make a third attraction there. I don't know. I don't know what it would be though, but.
Well, we will see. As far as how long, I mean, it depends on how much they have to do to it, but it sounds like they're going to be doing a lot from the description of it. I would imagine it'd be closed for over a year, is my guess. Probably 2 years. Probably a year and a half to 2 years was my guess.
Yeah, I would think that if they really wanted to, they could get it done in a few months. But, it just depends on how much work they want to do in there.
Because the mechanics part of it is always being refurbished, and it's yearly refurb. But they would definitely do that also. But I just wonder what's going to happen to Critter Country, because that... You know that
it kind of extends New Orleans. You know.
Yeah. So then the only attraction is the canoes and Winnie the Pooh and Critter. I don't know. It just seems a little odd. I hope it doesn't go away. But
I mean, I think they could have just turned the Winnie the Pooh attraction into the Princess and the Frog attraction, and then made the Hungry Bear restaurant her restaurant. Still leaves the canoes the odd thing out, but you know, then you would have to find another place for Winnie the Pooh too. Maybe you could, you know, do kind of a Tokyo version of the attraction somewhere, but
yeah.
But we'll have to see. But like I said, don't be surprised if, you know, if there's economic troubles, if this gets quote unquote delayed, you know.
Yeah, but hopefully not.
I mean, I never want to see the company have to cut back, because if they do cut back, that means people get laid off and stuff like that. I mean, you know, I don't want that to happen. I don't want people to lose their jobs, you know, but I'm just saying, based on past cycles, when there's been, you know, economic contraction or whatever, you know, there's
best time to spend money.
You would think so. You would think that
right.
It's the best time because the contractors are looking for work. But, you know, I'm not a sharp pencil guy. Maybe there's stuff to it I don't know. So, you know, maybe with higher interest rates, it's just harder to finance these things, you know.
John was saying, do you think they'll alter the outside of the mountain? I don't think they would. I think
they might put some props on there. I mean, I
don't know.
There's nothing about it there's nothing about the exterior where it you know, it's tied into Song of the South or anything like that. So
maybe the Briar Patch part.
Maybe that'll get changed.
Like, I mean, obviously you would do the drop, but just the decor around there, the thorns or whatever they are.
Yep, the briars.
Briars. All right, let's move on.
Well, of course, Laughing Place covered that story as well. So if you know, you don't like all the links to all of these, by the way, are on our official website, thesweepspot.com. So, you know, if you can't click through to the Orange County Register, then you can at least click through to Laughing Place to get that story. Or Mice Chat's got complete coverage. They have something Dusty Sage put up. It says, new info, everything you need to know about the upcoming Princess and the Frog ride at Disneyland and Walt Disney World. So they have complete coverage there at micechat.com. Well, speaking of altering existing attractions, the Orange County Register reports Finding Dory Octopus swims into Disneyland Submarine Lagoon. So, Hank the Septopus, you know, since he's missing a limb, from Finding Dory, will join the cast of amphibious creatures in the Finding Nemo Submarine Voyage attraction at Disneyland, according to Walt Disney Imagineering. Disneyland will reopen the Finding Nemo Submarine Voyage attraction on July 25th, according to the Disney Parks blog. Finding Nemo Submarine Voyage has remained closed since the Anaheim theme park reopened in April 2021 after a year-long pandemic closure. Not a pandemic closure. While Imagineering and Disneyland Cruise refurbished the classic 1959 attraction. Imagineering plussed up the venerable attraction by extending some rock work above the waterline to give the Hank static figure a place to hang out. The Finding Dory Octopus will be visible from Matterhorn Way, between the bobsled roller coaster and the submarine lagoon. And as it says later in the story, the Disneyland ride Beneath the Ocean Depths closed in 1998 amid an uncertain future for the undersea attraction. Several replacement thematic ideas were considered for the ride based on Disney's 1989 Little Mermaid, 2001 Atlantis, and 2002 Treasure Planet. but none of them made the leap from the silver screen to the theme park. Then in 2007, Finding Nemo Submarine Voyage opened at Disneyland after nearly a decade of inactivity in the lagoon. A 2014 refurbishment of the popular Nemo attraction drained the 6.3 million gallon sublagoon for months. After the last refurbishment, Pixar released the Finding Dory sequel in 2016 that continued the aquatic story of the original 2003 Finding Nemo. Wasn't Hank voiced by Ed O'Neill in the movie? I thought that was brilliant. You know, to have Ed O'Neill do an animated voice. I thought that was brilliant casting.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that was really brilliant casting. So kudos whoever came up with that idea. But yeah, so they've plussed it now. So now you can see Hank out there.
Did you see the video or photos of it?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks nice. The water looks really nice. The so clear. It's nice to have that back in the park. Like Christine was saying, it's so nice for the subs to be moving again. So.
Yes, get that that movement going. Mm-hmm. The Sublagoon is, I think it's, you don't see a lot of stuff like that at theme parks. So it's good to have there. It's also good, in the event of some sort of disaster, the Sublagoon is a great source of firefighting water and also potable. You can make it potable water if you need to. If you've got tens of thousands of people there who need water. But yeah, yep. So,
yeah, I think it's good. Some people were hoping that it wouldn't come back for whatever reason, but I'm for the subs being there. Where else can you do an experience like that? I can't think of anywhere except for the real thing. But then you'd have to probably be in the military or something.
Well, I had a similar on my honeymoon. One of the excursions on the from the cruise ship involved an actual submarine trip. It's kind of a thing where it stays really close to the surface, and they just kind of give you a tour of the area. It felt a lot like the Disneyland submarine, so that was nice. But that's like I said, how often do you see something like this in a theme park? So
no.
Yeah. And of course, the official Disney Parks blog also covered that story. They've got plenty of video and
All
pictures and whatnot.
right.
Yeah. Hey, the Disneyland hotel guests get a 30-minute head start on rides and attractions. Okay, this was an Orange County Register story. All kinds of perks for the hotel guests. It says guests at the 3 Disneyland Resort hotels will have early entry privileges starting 30 minutes before the opening each day of Disneyland and DCA beginning August 8th. Disneyland and DCA typically open at 8 a.m., which means Disney hotel guests will be able to get into the park starting at 7:30 a.m. most days. The paid Genie Plus and Lightning Lane front-of-the-line services can be booked once visitors enter the parks. Disney hotel guests can ride select attractions, visit select shops and restaurants, and make Genie Plus and Lightning Lane selections once inside the parks during the 30-minute early entry. During early entry, Genie Plus and Lightning Lane selections will only be available for time starting after the official park opening. That means if early entry starts at 7:30, the first available Genie Plus and Lightning Lane time slots would be for 8 a.m. In other words, there will be no Genie Plus and Lightning Lane time slots available during the 30-minute early entry period. Disneyland will open the front gate turnstiles for all visitors, hotel and non-hotel guests, 30 minutes before the official park opening each day. Hotel guests will show their room reservation in the Disneyland app to get past rope drop and ride the attractions, while day guests wait on Main Street USA and the Castle Hub for the official park opening. Any visitors inside the parks can make Genie Plus and Lightning Lane reservations during the early entry time period. It does make sense to give the hotel guests perks. I mean, I'm sure if Disney could have their way, you know, they would have enough hotel capacity for every guest in the park, and then the park would only be open to, you know, you'd have to book a hotel stay along with a theme park visit. But right. You know, they're not at that point. It does continue in the story here. Disneyland Resort hotel guests will also get preferred dine access for a limited number of reservations at select hotel table service restaurants. A start date for the preferred dining reservations was not announced beyond coming soon. The hotel restaurants weren't designated either, but Napa Rose and Storyteller's Cafe at the Grand Californian and Goofy's Kitchen and Trader Sam's and Chanatiki Bar at the Disneyland Hotel are among the most popular dining locations. The early entry and preferred dine access privileges are part of a new package of perks announced for guests of the Disneyland Hotel, which includes, Disneyland Hotel, DC, the Grand Californian, and the Paradise Pier Hotel. The three hotels will host daily summer pool parties. That's already started because it started on July 1st, and that goes through August 31st with a squad of Disney characters leading poolside games set to high-energy music. Disney hotel guests will also have access to a package delivery service starting August 8th for merchandise purchased in the parks to be delivered to their hotel rooms. This stuff all sounds familiar. Like, didn't they do this stuff before? I guess they're bringing it back, I guess. They might be calling it something else, but the three Disneyland Resort hotels are offering 10 to 25% discounts on Sunday through Thursday nights from August 7th through September 29th. So, with 25% off, you're saving thousands of dollars. I mean,
oh yeah.
So, yeah, I wonder if any of our Patreon supporters are going to take advantage of this,
It doesn't sound like it. Christine said, doesn't seem worth the price of the on-site hotels. And they won't take your packages to your room until the next day.
Yeah, I mean,
would save the money and stay off-site if I was going to stay there.
Right. It would have to probably be more than a half an hour early entry to make it worth it.
It does give you a good head start, but I don't think that people would want to stay there for the... I mean, they've been booking now for over a year. Without these perks, and they've been doing pretty well.
Yeah.
We stayed last November. We stayed at the Grand Californian, and the one perk at that hotel was that you could use that special entrance into California Adventure, and they didn't have the early entry. But I think that one of the reasons that people like to stay there, including myself, not that I do it often, but when I do, I like it because you kind of feel like you, it kind of takes you out of the, what am I trying to say, the Disney mood, when you have to walk
right.
down Harbor Boulevard and there's people, homeless, or I'm not anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that it takes you out of that. You know what I'm saying?
You're staying in the Disney bubble.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say.
On property.
People like selling like things, and I don't know, it's just a little odd, but
yeah.
But if you want to stay in that and you want your vacation to be just Disney, then that's why. So John was saying, we'll only stay on site nowadays. It's just so much of a better experience. Patrick said nope, and John said we only go every few years. So yeah, especially if you only go every few years, you want to make the best of it, And
I've never stayed at the Grand Californian. I've been in the Grand Californian plenty, but like there were times like my mother would just get a room there because she wanted to, and we could go and like the kids could go swimming in the pool or whatever, I mean.
Right.
But Yeah, so it seems like a treat, like something if you're doing it if you're only visiting every so many years and you want to go all out. But if not, of course, there's plenty of great things. There's the Howard Johnson thing, and
Right.
So
yeah, John was saying it's worth the money, especially since the kids are grown and we value the atmosphere so much more now. So that's kind of goes into what I was saying is keeping in the theme of it. Yeah. But I also know that some people can't afford that and have to stay. And there are some nice hotels on Harbor Boulevard. I'm not discrediting them. The Hojo and Candy Cane Inn. We favor those two hotels, but yeah.
Yep. The official Disney Parks blog also does that story and has all the details and all the legalese about everything. It ends with like several paragraphs of legalese disclaimers, but yeah, so I mean, it makes sense that they would at least offer perks. I don't know, they probably weren't lacking for reservations as it was, but hey, something that might get people back. Pirates of the Caribbean is back. So if you want to see photos and video of that, we'll have links to that. laughingplace.com covered it, and micechat.com also covered that. But I know the moment I wonder if any of our chat people have been on Pirates since it reopened. I heard they took out all the pirates.
Yeah. No.
There's just flowers in their place,
Yeah.
But it's good to have that back because, of course, it's one of the best attractions, and it's such a big people eater.
Oh yeah.
So it's great to have that back, and I'm glad it's back. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm anxious to get to see that. So that'll be good.
Pirates. But I know the thing you're really, really waiting for, Lynn, is the return of Bippity Boppity Boutique.
Oh, of course.
I know you've been waiting for that. And the official Disney Parks blog says it returns August 25th. So, reported by Sloan McGowan, who is with actually the Walt Disney World Resort, because I guess they have them in both resorts. But I'm pleased to share that earlier today, a magical proclamation was found in Fantasyland announcing a very special return. Bippity Boppity Boutique will soon welcome young guests once again for royal head-to-toe transformations at both Magic Kingdom Park at Walt Disney World Resort and Disneyland Park at the Disneyland Resort on August 25th. Guests may begin making reservations for these magical transformations in early August only in the My Disney Experience app and Disneyland app, or at DisneyWorld.com and Disneyland.com. Valid admission and park reservations are required for entry into the Magic Kingdom Park and Disneyland Park. So it's coming back, Lynn. Bippity Boppity Boutique. And I know you've been waiting for it. I know it. I know,
Well, no, adults can't participate in this, so it's just for children.
Yeah, darn it. MyChat.com covers that. They say magical makeovers return to the Disneyland parks this August. And as usual, well, I'd be interested to hear if any of our chat people, our Patreon supporters in the chat have anything to say about any of this stuff.
Christine is excited about Pirates coming back.
Yay!
She has also said we are too old for Bibbidi Boppity. So
you're never too old, really. I mean, but I guess Disneyland says you are sometimes.
Yeah.
There were some great updates on MyChat.com as usual. There's Dateline Disneyland. Mercury climbs, crowds thin at a musical tradition returns. And that's from Andy Castro from back on June 27th. and he's referencing the All-American College Band returning, and he's talking about some of the refurbishments going on. So click through and read that if you haven't already. And also, Andy has a July 4th update called Dateline Disneyland Pirates Return, Submarine Voyage Testing, and more. So everybody's excited about the subs coming back. But I know, not everyone. Everyone who counts is just kidding. Dissenting voices are valid. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I was wondering if you had any information about other renovations that are taking place or finishing up or yes.
So as you said, Finding Nemo subs come back on the 25th of July, 2022. Tarzan's Treehouse, still no information on that yet, which is kind of interesting because that middle section has been removed now for.
See, that's where they're gonna move all the animatronics from Splash Mountain. Is they're gonna put them in the treehouse.
Okay. Redwood Creek Challenge Trail closes on August 1st, and I think that's probably because of the I don't know the name, but it's something to do with the Oogie Boogie Bash Halloween whatever party.
Yeah. Yes, that's the Nature Trail to Hell, they call it. No, wait.
Nature
Trail to Hell in 3D.
Something about Treat Trail, yeah.
Oh, okay. I think I got the name wrong on that. I'm sorry.
Slightly. Let's see. What else? Haunted Mansion closes on August 15th for the transformation into the holiday, Haunted Mansion holiday. So, and that, I believe, opens up, I think, like Halloween is in full on September 7th, was it?
Yeah, it's early in September. We know that. So.
Or 9th, 2nd. I think it's September 2nd. So, anyways, it only takes them about a week, 2 weeks to get that going. Also, the Monsters Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue closes on August 15th. Some sites, rumor sites, have said that it's not going to return. But every time this goes down for refurb, those sites come out and say that. So, who's to know? Now the funny thing is with that ride is it's one of my favorite rides at California Adventure. I really like the movies, and no, I don't care for the movies. I like the experience. No, no, but every time I've gone, the line's been over 30 minutes easily, and they've even used that back. There's like a back queue there.
Yeah.
And it's a Genie Plus or whatever Fast Pass thing. So, yeah, they can get rid of it, I guess. But I mean, it seems to be fairly popular. So I don't know. Anyways, that's going down for a refurb August 15th. And that's all I have.
I remember a time there's no way they would have taken attractions down August 15th. Not until they would the day after the Monday after, no, not Monday, the Tuesday after Labor Day. that's when everything would go down.
Remember, our summer schedules would go all the way to like Labor Day, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, by then, by the end of August, you would have a lot of people calling out sick because they were just exhausted.
Yeah.
Working all summer, often, sometimes 6-7 days, long days. Yeah.
Are more schools in California starting school in August now?
There's a lot of schools that start in early August to be more in line with college. So they'll be out. So they'll get out like in late May.
Oh, okay.
Because what was happening was the colleges were starting early. And so you'd have these seniors graduating in mid to late June from high school, and then they would have to start their college classes in early August. You know, it's like, okay, that's kind of difficult. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
But not all of them. It's pretty staggered, you know.
Yeah.
There's private schools where they still start after Labor Day, you know.
All right.
So, yeah, that's, you know, things are changing. The theme parks at Disney are in flux, and it's hard to keep track of all that. But there are people who do, and it's our good pals at Concierge, who are the magical vacation planning partners of the Sweep Spot. So what you need to do is, when you're planning to go on a Disney getaway vacation, whether it's to Disneyland or Walt Disney World or Disney Salani in Hawaii or the Disney Cruise Line. I mean, there's a big new ship in the Disney Cruise Line. Even Adventures by Disney. So if you're going away on a Disney vacation, you do the planning with Concierge. They do Disney, and that's all that they focus on. So they keep up with the changes. They can do all the heavy lifting for you, take a lot of the stress out of planning your next getaway vacation. It's not going to add any cost to your trip because they don't charge you. That's not how they get paid. So concierge.com, that's CONCIEARS.com. You go there, make contact with them. When you book with them, you book a package, okay? So like a week on the cruise or hotel stay and theme park visits, you know, a package like that. If you do that and you tell them that the Sweep Spot sent you, they'll give you a special gift. So I would not plan another Disney getaway vacation without Concierge. I sent my own mother to them more than once. And Concierge is who you should go to for planning your next Disney getaway vacation. So thank you to them.
Yes. All right, Ken. Thanks a lot.
Hello everyone, this is Eric Johnson with Concierge and welcome to the D180. While Ken and Lynn cover all things Disneyland, in the D180 we take a spin around the rest of the Disney universe and we do it in 180 seconds. Let's jump right in. We start and end our journey at Port Canaveral, where the Disney Wish is ready for its maiden voyage on the 14th. We finally have a glimpse inside this new ship thanks to its recent preview journey. The ship accommodates about 7,000 guests in its 1,238 rooms. 76 of these rooms are concierge-level rooms or suites, more than any other Disney ship. So if you want to live it up, check out the 4 Sleeping Beauty-themed Royal Suites, or maybe save your cash for the 1,966 square foot Moana-themed Tower Suite. This house-sized suite sleeps 8 guests in 2 bedrooms in the most unique accommodations inside the forward funnel of the ship. The Wish has 7 table service dining locations and a bevy of quick stops, bars, and lounges. Every report I have seen says the dining is some of the best Disney food these people have ever tried, so how about we spend a little more time exploring? One of the major highlights is just what you would expect, really. The 2-hour dinner show Arendelle, a frozen dining adventure, whisks guests into the next chapter of the Nordic Kingdom, all while serving an amazing dinner. The story picks up right where Frozen 2 leaves off, with all of your favorites making an appearance. Even Oaken comes along to steal the show. In between scenes, make crafts, sing along with the music, and enjoy the cuisine of Scandinavia. The Worlds of Marvel immerses you in an Avengers mission surrounded by Pym and Stark tech. As you meet your favorite superheroes, choose a meal inspired by New York City, Wakanda, or Sokovia. We presume the meals are not as fictitious as these Marvel nations. 1923 evokes the glamour of old Hollywood with dark wood paneling and golden lights. Whether you dine in the Walt or the Roy dining room, you'll be surrounded by artifacts from early animation, sketches, and concept art. The menu looks like it's no slouch either, drawing inspiration from Asian, Central and South American, and European dishes. You may have noticed that Disney is catering to some hoity-toity clientele these days. Disney adults with cash to burn will find plenty of opportunity in this floating luxury resort. We all know about the $5,000 drink experience in the Hyperspace Lounge by now, so I won't spend too much time on this space yacht and its cruise through Star Wars-y locales. Let's talk the Bayou, a New Orleans-themed lounge decorated in green, gold, and dark wood. Amid magnolias and lily pads, chill out to some live jazz music. Chow down on some beignets and try signatures Louisiana drinks like a Hurricane or a Sazerac. Seems like a great place to enjoy some New Orleans style without the heat or the bugs. I know, you're on the Disney wish. You want whimsy. Nightingale's piano bar is inspired by Cinderella's enchanted evening and sports chandeliers and rose gold accents all around. Select a flute of champagne or a fine glass of wine and feel like a socialite for a little bit. Do you need to keep up on sports, or at least look like the kind of person who does? Head to Keg and Compass, the home of old-timey seafarers. Plenty of 1800s navigational charts and nautical decorations await. So does an array of televisions, pub food, and craft beer. There's even a tribute to our beloved Maelstrom on the menu. And then there's Hook's Barbery, a European salon that offers services for male folk. You know, like beard trimmings and pedicures. Oh, and there's a speakeasy in the back with an impressive collection of whiskey, rum, and other spirits. Smoked old-fashioned lovers will delight in the infinite combinations of whiskeys, sugar types, and infused flavors available. Back in that pricey category, they currently carry a very rare bottle of 100-year-old Mount Vernon Pure Rye Whiskey. Okay, Disney, you have my attention now. I might have to break into my Star Cruiser piggy bank. And that's 180 seconds. I hope you enjoyed our quick spin around the rest of the Disney universe. If you would like to learn more about these Disney adventures or just have a few questions, please come on over. Visit the social media and websites of both SweepSpot and us, their official travel planners, concierges. We look forward to planning something special for you and your family. I'm Eric Johnson, and this has been your D180.
So, Scott, when did you start working at Disneyland, and what was the first role that you had there while you were there?
Yeah, I started in 1964,
okay.
And I grew up in Anaheim, actually in an orange grove that turned out to be 3 blocks south of Disneyland. So I guess my first exposure to Disneyland was during construction.
Oh.
I used to ride my bike up to the site.
Oh, neat.
You know, as a kind of an adventurous 8-year-old, and my elementary school, was kitty corner from the park the property there that Walt purchased, Catella Elementary, which, you know, Ron Dominguez was an alumni of that little elementary school as well.
Oh.
So during the year that Disneyland was being built, I was on and off the project site. They didn't have a fence per se. I just would go over to the site and kind of hang out and stay out of the way. But you fast forward to 1964. I started in October of '64. I graduated from high school at the age of 17.
Okay. And
you couldn't work at Disneyland until you were 18. So. A really very, very nice young Retlaw supervisor hired me, somebody you may know, Jim Cora.
Yeah. And
Jim hired me into Retlaw, and I started on the monorail. And once I was trained on the monorail, and I moved over to the steam trains, and so I worked both of those attractions, plus many other attractions
right.
throughout the 4 years of my college years. I worked at Disneyland through my college years.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a great time, to be in the park in those years.
Yeah.
First couple of years, Walt was still around, and he was in the park quite often, actually, as I recall, and kind of fun to have him. He really liked the steam trains. He was a steam train nut. And, of course, the family, Retlaw, owned the monorails and the steam trains themselves, all the rolling stock, and which was a very interesting when you think about it, it's a very interesting business arrangement. In that Retlaw and the family didn't own the right-of-way. They didn't own the railroad right-of-way around the park. That all belonged to Disneyland, and they didn't own the monorail beams or the right-of-way out across the parking lot and so forth to the hotel. But they owned all the hardware, the rolling stock, and so
wow, that's
yeah,
really
it was a fun time to be working in the park.
Did you have any, like, did you see Walt? I mean, did you have any conversations with Walt, or did you see him in passing?
Oh, well, a little of both.
Yeah.
The first time that I was ever spent a lot of time, I would say a lot of time, maybe 15 minutes with Walt, was the summer of 65. It was just before Lincoln opened, Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. And that summer I had an opening shift on the steam trains, and instead of from the old locker room, instead of walking backstage and popping out onto Town Square, I used to like to walk before the park opened, come out by the hub and then walk down the two blocks of Main Street. The music was on, and the streets were still wet from being washed down, and the window washers were still washing the windows, and no guests in the park. It's just a wonderful, wonderful time.
Oh yeah.
To take that stroll down Main Street. And the last few days before Lincoln opened, Walt was staying at his apartment up over the fire station, and we crossed paths, his schedule in mind. He was walking east toward from the apartment to the Opera House, and I was walking south down Main Street and across Town Square to the Main Street station. And so the second, and he was always very nice and always greeted me, and so the second morning he stopped me and he looked at my name tag and he said, "Scotty, you like working on the steam trains?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I sure do." And he says, "Well, so do I." And but we sat down on a park bench there in Town Square, and he was very nice. He was very curious. He wanted to know, where was I from? Where did I grow up? And was I going to college? And where was I studying? And I told him, I said, "Well, it's Cal Poly, and I'm studying landscape architecture." And he said, "Oh gosh," he said, you need to meet Bill Evans." And I said, "Well, Walt," I said, I do know Bill, because Bill, back then the park was closed in the wintertime, Monday and Tuesday, and Bill always hosted a field day on one of those days during the winter months for the landscape architecture students at Cal Poly. So I got to know Bill that way. Every year the field day coming into the park, and of course I was working at the park, so but it was a chance to spend some time with Bill and his really keen mind and around with the students, and he talked a little bit of history about the landscape and so forth. But so Walt was he was very nice, and he said, "Oh yeah," I said, "I'm so glad you know Bill," and so we went on about our business, that was the first time I'd had a chance to really spend any time with him.
What a really unique time to work at Disneyland. Just
it was a lot of growth going on.
Yeah.
A lot of things being added to the park over those years. New Orleans Square was under construction, Pirates was under construction, and whatnot. So
New Tomorrowland, yeah.
Yeah, New Tomorrowland, right, right, exactly. You bet.
Wow.
And another little funny Walt story. If you guys are interested,
oh
I
yeah,
don't know where
of
you
course.
want to stay with this,
No.
but whenever Walt was in the park, he, at least that I recall, when I was working on the steam trains, he'd always want to come up on the trains, and he wanted to drive. the trains, and he didn't want to stop going around the park. And so usually we were, like a 2-train operation. And one day I was working the train. We were in the Frontierland station, and we get a call from Main Street, and the foreman back at Main Street said, well, the Main Street station, he said, well, Walt's here, and he's going to take the next train. Mm-hmm. So you guys need to scoot off onto the spur. And this was back when, there was a spur there at Frontierland Station. And so, I made an announcement to the guests on the train, and I said, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna pull off onto the spur here and wait a few minutes, and if you want to get off, and we'll give you a re-ticket to get on later. And but the next train behind us is not going to be stopping. And I said, but if you want to stay on the train and see Walt Disney drive by on the next train, you stay on board. So nobody got off the train. Nobody get off the train. So we moved the train over onto the spur and called back up to Main Street. And just a few minutes later, here came the train down the line from Main Street, and there was Walt in the engineer's side of the engine, with hanging out the window and driving the train, and he roared right through Frontierland Station. He made 3 or 4 loops, and without stopping. And I guess once he got his steam train fixed, and he was good for the day. But and I've been on the other end of that train story too, where in Main Street, I saw Walt come up with Jim Cora and Jack Ader, the supervisors, managers of the Retlaw, and they said, okay, Walt's going to take this train. So we had to make an announcement for the guests who were already on the train. And we said, if you want to get off and wait, we're going to make a few loops here without stopping. Walt wants to drive the trains, and you can wait here in the waiting area, or you can take a ride around the park. Well, again, nobody would get off. Everybody loved seeing Walt. And so we'd run around the park 3 or 4 times nonstop, and run right through the Frontierland Station, the Tomorrowland Station, and back to Main Street 3 or 4 times. So wow. That was kind of fun back in those days.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And when I was talking with you a few months ago, I was asking you things that you've done, and you had mentioned that you also worked on other attractions in the park. Now, some like the 2 that you mentioned, monorail and trains, were Retlaw, but how did that work with you, like being able to work other attractions that aren't under Retlaw?
Yeah, the what would happen is, if for example, when Small World was being built, the railroad line was realigned, and so we get reassigned out to the park. They'd just assign us to Fantasyland or Tomorrowland, or and really ultimately over the 4 years, I worked every attraction in the park. I worked at Jungle Cruise, the Matterhorn, all the attractions in Fantasyland, Mark Twain, Columbia, all of those attractions. So at some time or another. Mm. But I was a Retlaw employee. All of those the 4 years that I was in the park.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And
Retlaw made their payroll out of WED. So, I got a WED paycheck. All of us, part you got a WED paycheck. I was a little disappointed. I remember thinking, well, one of my first paycheck is going to, I'll have that Disneyland logo on my paycheck. And no, it was a paycheck with the big old futuristic, red, black, and blue WED, on the check.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. Didn't find out till later that I really had the cooler check, but years later.
But you're going to school to do landscape architecture, and was that a goal of yours? By working at Disneyland, did you finally decide you wanted to work for WED? Is that something?
Well, that's a very interesting story, because back in those days, Disneyland had what they called a biographical summary, which was it's like an 8.5 by 11 fold over, for like, it would make like a 4-page, it was a biographical summary in it. And it was, some part of it was biographical, and I mean, some of it looked like an employment application. They want to know, how long you've been with the company, what are you studying, where are you going to school, when do you think you'll graduate, would you be interested in staying with the company, back in those days it was pre-computer, so it was all hard written and hard filed, and I filled that out. Let's see, I started in '64, so I filled that out in '65, and 1965, and and I was by 1968, the summer of '68, I was getting ready to graduate, and at Cal Poly, and one day I was working on the monorail. I was on the Tomorrowland station, up in the Tomorrowland platform, on the monorail, and I see Bill Evans come up the speed ramp, and he came out onto the platform, and I saw him walk over to the foreman, and the foreman turned around and pointed to me, and Bill came over, and then he recognized me, and he said, it says here, and he had my biographical summary that I'd filled out like 3 years before. Now, this is, like I say, this is hard filed and hard written. There's nothing computer about it, no way to fish for it. And he says, well, it says here you're a young landscape architect. And I said, well, Bill, I will be in a couple of weeks, when I graduate. And he said, would you consider, coming up to WED and helping us with this thing we're doing in Florida? And Walt Disney World didn't, the project name didn't exist, and it was just called the Florida Project. And I can't believe what I said, even to this day. I said, well, Bill, I said, be honest with you, I said, well, I always thought when I graduated, I'd go out and get a real job. and he said, because to me, when you graduate landscape architect, you go out and find an office, and landscape architecture office, and you get a job and you work in the office. Never thinking how that would translate to working for Disney, because for me, 4 years at Disneyland, that wasn't a real job.
Right.
I mean, that was just a lot of fun and a way to, pay for my education and so forth. So he said, well, think about it and, let me know. So I went home that night and I thought, what in the world is wrong with you? And so at 7 o'clock the next morning, I started calling Bill's office over in the park. And I said, count me in. Count me in. So a few weeks later, I graduated, and a couple of weeks after that, Bill arranged to have me transfer up to WED. And of course, we were, back then, the company was in full throes of working on the earliest parts of Walt Disney World.
Okay.
And so it was, that's how I got to WED.
So Walt Disney World was some of your first projects you got to work on?
At WED, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, in fact, when I first moved up there, Bill was just transitioning down to Florida. And I got assigned, my first assignment was to work for Fred Hope. Fred Hope Sr. was an art director, and Fred was responsible for all the architectural design of Main Street, all the buildings on Main Street. So I was put to work doing architectural details on buildings on Main Street. I worked on the Emporium. I worked on the town, or the City Hall and Railroad Station, and so that was my first assignment. And then after a month or so, Bill got settled down in Florida and started commuting back and forth, and that's when I got involved in the landscape design of the various portions of the project down in Orlando.
So, just so when you say landscape, I just wanted to clear it up. You mean like the trees and plants and things like that are around the park? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then later, later on, by later on I mean specifically Epcot and Tokyo Disneyland. From Epcot on, the landscape architecture department, we designed, all of the exterior space. In other words, all the paving and curbing and railing and light fixtures, as well as landscape and irrigation and water features and, non-structural bridges and things like that. So all the paving patterns and so forth. So,
wow, very neat. So so you lived down in Florida during this project for a while?
Yeah. It's interesting that the deal was, well, you'll come down for a couple of years and, help push this project across the finish line. We'll bring you back, to California. I was a native Californian, and so we got open, in '71. The Walt Disney World opened in '71, and Bill then, we were there just continuing to push all the development into Florida. The company was spending a lot of money, adding new capacity, new attractions over the years, and Bill moved back to Florida, and so I went from a project landscape architect to resident landscape architect, and so I was kind of took on his mantle there in Florida, and in '75. Bill was forced to retire. Wow. The company had a 65-year age, maximum. You had to retire then, and so Bill retired in '75, and the company the company just continued to grow in Florida, and even beyond the Magic Kingdom. We did a lot of development down in Lake Buena Vista and the growth of the Lake Buena Vista community and Lake Buena Vista Shopping Village and the club and whatnot. So, and then in 1978, they announced that Epcot was going to go forward, and a few weeks after that announcement, I was on a plane back to Glendale. So I had to start a whole new landscape architecture department in Glendale back up again. And the first thing I did was I got Bill on a retainer. And so I had access to his fantastic horticultural brain. He's just a master. And so we started on Epcot, and 6 months later, then the company did the deal with the Mitsui Land Company for Tokyo Disneyland. So for that, the 4 years, over 4 years, 4.5 years, we did those two projects in tandem, parallel to each other, with opening dates just 6 months apart. So
working with Bill, you had the opportunity to chat with him and get to know him and his, how he did things. Did he ever tell you stories about designing the Disneyland landscape and stuff?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
He had a lot of photos that he had taken, historical photos that he had taken, and I had even working on the steam trains, I watched him build berms and move berms and move large plant materials and so forth, but Bill, when you think about that 1 year that the park was being built in Anaheim, Disneyland, California it's had a long history of nursery industry, and but not really big specimen trees, and so large trees were at a premium, and what Bill did was was he did two things. First, he would find out when and where the right-of-way for the Santa Ana Freeway, Interstate 5, that right-of-way was being condemned, and he'd rush down there with a couple of landscape contractors that he had under his wing to rush in there and dig up and move, large trees, that had been in the neighborhood for, 30, 40 years. And so he rescued a lot of big specimen material for Disneyland that way and moved it to Anaheim. And at the same time, the property there that Disneyland sits on was originally, Orange Grove, and part of it was Walnut Grove and whatnot. And they were mature groves.
Yeah.
And, mature orange tree is, 18 to 20 feet by 18 to 20 feet. I mean, a lush green foliage and so forth. So, Bill, like to tell you the story that there's a part of the park where he used a survey, and wherever the grade didn't have to change, or there wasn't going to be any paving, he tried like the dickens to save those orange trees.
Wow.
That fell in those areas just because they needed big trees. And he could limb them up and turn them into a tree that looked like a park tree, but because they were all, orange trees, when they grow mature, they grow full to the ground. But you could limb them up and make them look like a park tree and provide some shade and whatnot. But what he tried in one area was he put surveyor's flagging tape. He put red flagging tape on the big orange trees that were to stay, and green flagging tape on the orange trees that could be taken, pushed over, moved out of the way. So the bulldozer operator showed up one morning and started pushing trees over, and probably an hour, 2 hours later, Bill shows up and stops him real quick, because it turns out the bulldozer operator was colorblind, and he was taking exactly the wrong trees.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, it always wasn't easy, So, and there's a story. He tells a story too, and I've heard the story, and I know it's true. I've heard it repeated from other sources, but I know it's true because Bill told me there just wasn't very much plant material in the park on opening day.
Yeah.
And so, Walt told him, Bill put some of those Latin name tags on these weeds. And so, some of the areas that were left native or natural, just off the pathways, that's what he'd do. He'd put a few, jaw-breaking Latin names, Tetrapanix papyrifera or something on these weeds, So, but it was a whole new world, that just the park itself was a whole new experience for Southern Californians and for the company, for that matter.
Yeah, for sure. I know you always hear those stories about how to make the Jungle Cruise trees look more exotic. They planted some of the trees upside down. I don't know how true that was. But
it is true.
Is it? Yeah.
What they did was what Bill did was he took some of those walnut trees and cut them down and then turned them upside down and cut a bunch of the limbs off, so you'd have limbs that might be 3 or 4 inches in diameter, so it looked like a hat rack.
Right.
And then he planted those kind of half in the river, the Jungle River, and half up on the shore, so it looked like a mangrove.
Oh.
You know what a mangrove looks like.
Yeah.
And then plant vines on that, and they ran cable across the river up above, and those vines would crawl across the cable, and that's how Bill created the first rainforest. part of that the Jungle Cruise attraction.
Right. I imagine those trees are still there today.
Well, you know, the old walnuts are not, because they just just plain rotted out. But they've rebuilt them in the same kind of look, but they're steel and fiberglass.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it still looks. You still have the same mangrove look along the river there in the rainforest area of the Jungle Cruise.
So you had mentioned that you did some work on Big Thunder Mountain and the new Fantasyland, Disneyland.
Yes.
How was that on Big Thunder Mountain? That was probably designed in the late 70s, because it opened in 79, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And that was, to me, I thought one of the best themed landscaping that we had done, in a long time.
Yeah.
For a new attraction.
Mm-hmm.
The research team had been up to Oak Creek Canyon, Sedona area, and Monument Valley, and there's a lot of research done on that. And so it in fact, I like that attraction better in Disneyland than I do the one that we did in Orlando at Walt Disney World. So
just the way it turned out, you like it better?
Yeah. And Tokyo turned out okay, but I just thought Disneyland's Big Thunder was great, and Tony Baxter did such a great job on the new Fantasyland.
Oh yeah.
I think that was 83 or 84.
Mm-hmm.
And the old concept of the old Fantasyland, made sense for a long, long time. The old tournament tents and very. You look back, it was a very inexpensive solution to a need to create a space and create an environment, like a tournament and fair in the inner court of a castle, castle courtyard, and it worked fine. But just the magnificent detail that Tony Baxter and the guys did on the architecture for Fantasyland, the new Fantasyland at Disneyland, is just stunning in my estimation. And
it really is. Yeah.
And it was fun to plan the plantings for that, and just to our job was always to complement the theme. Mm-hmm. We have a role to play. Landscape has a role to play, an important role, and it's not to be overbearing in the story, but to complement the architecture and be part of the story, so that the story's being told all in concert.
We'd get a good look at those landscape areas because part of our responsibility when we were working there was going through any part of those the guests could drop anything in. And cleaning them out. So. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, you bet.
So
we got a good look at those areas.
Oh, yeah.
That's terrific. Good.
Yeah, just I love that architecture. The way it's like that European kind of stylish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know I don't know how to describe it, but I know I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all, you could almost call it old world Europe. Mm-hmm. A lot of that architectural detail with finials and architectural coining and things like that. Yeah, just great. I thought they did a great job.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Did you also you also worked on the what was originally called the Small World Meadows Amphitheater, but everybody calls it Videopolis.
Yeah, that was the first, as I recall, that was the first project out of the box after Eisner and Wells came into power. And Michael Eisner thought that, we needed a more interactive dance area and so forth. And so we carved that out, almost what was backstage back then. And it became, pretty active, pretty hot spot for a while.
Yeah, it's I like those trees back there. It brings a lot of shade. That little walkway between the train station and the Videopolis there.
Yeah. So, and I mean, you guys know where the original Topiary idea came from? Why there's Topiary?
Not offhand, no.
Was it from Tivoli Gardens or?
Well, Walt was very, enchanted with Tivoli Gardens. He just thought Tivoli Gardens was wonderful, great place to be, and loved the difference in the experience between daytime and nighttime. And of course, that's why he wanted, a lot of twinkle lights and nice lighting and landscape lighting and building lighting at Disneyland. But the original Topiary figures were created about 1964, 63, 64. And Ken Anderson, you know the name Ken Anderson?
Yes, very much.
Yeah. Well, Ken had designed a small walk-through attraction that was going to be up in the north end of Fantasyland, about where Small World is located. And it was going to be called the Topiary Garden of the Gods. And it was a place, something for more capacity for the guests to do. It was, you could almost call it a throwaway by today's standards. But it was going to be, a walkthrough with some fountains and a garden area. And so the idea was to grow these whimsical topiaries, animals in different shapes, dancing hippos and alligators and camels and, all these kind of odd characters that, animals that you wouldn't normally see and, shaped out of a plant. And so Bill and his team had these armatures made, these rebar, reinforcing bar armatures made, and planted various species of plants depending upon the shape. It was a giraffe, it was podocarpus, and if it was a swan, it was an arborvitae. Just so you just had the right kind of plant that would take on the shape that you could train within this armature shape. And so they put them in boxes. There were about 15 of them in large boxes. Boxes were probably 30 inches tall and 4 or 5 feet square. And there was no place backstage. You guys remember how little space there was backstage at Disneyland. There was no place backstage to keep them and grow them. So they put them on stage on a gravel area just west of the old Fantasyland Railroad Station.
Okay, yeah.
And this is back in the mid-'60s. And they put them out there, and they were, they were part of the spiel. I remember giving the spiel on the steam trains, about the whimsical animal figures, the topiary for the Topiary Garden of the Gods, future Topiary Garden of the Gods, and whatnot. And well, that's where they were, and it was just a visual thing for the guests on the train, and then of course Small World came along, and that was the end of Topiary Garden of the Gods. And but they had the topiaries already grown, and so they were included in the landscape design for that attraction. And those figures are still there. Many of the original figures are still there by the queue area at Small World and in front of the attraction. And, they became a great photo op and wildly popular with the guests.
Oh, yeah.
And so when we went to Florida, we grew more topiary for the park and for a couple other locations, the Ticket and Transportation Center and so forth. So, but that's the whole genesis, the entire genesis of the live topiary was at Disneyland for the Topiary Garden of the Gods that really never got built.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, whenever I see those anywhere outside of Disneyland, I always think of Disneyland,
Sure.
Yeah. Well, so you worked on Videopolis, and you mentioned that was under the first thing built under Michael Eisner and Wells. Did you have a chance to meet them and work with them?
Oh, sure. Yeah. A number of occasions, and Michael was a very creative guy, a very inquisitive guy. He was in and out of WED more times than I can think of, and Frank was a wonderful guy, a terrific guy, and very supportive of everything that we were doing at WED. Didn't matter what. He just felt the key to success was to do it right.
Right.
If we're ever going to do it, let's do it right.
Well, when you were working at WED, you mentioned Bill Evans, of course, but you also had a chance to work alongside some of the older, early days of WED, some of the early Imagineers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That was really fun. I got to know Herbie, Ryan, and X, and of course Orlando and John Sovich and Don Edgren and so many others. Yeah. Colin Campbell. I hate to start naming names. I'll leave somebody out.
No, yeah, it's just a lot of people that we can. Yeah. So, that's amazing.
It was, and every one of them, and I'll say Ken Anderson too.
Yeah.
And Rowley, and I have to tell you, every one of those folks, every single one of those folks were just wonderful mentors, and they were just so kind, and they were just open and inquisitive, open about what they were doing, and inquisitive about what you were doing as young talent, and just so happy to help and bring young talent along. It was just a wonderful time to be with the company.
Wow, yeah, for sure. So you retired. When did you retire?
98.
98, okay.
1998.
What was one of the last projects you worked on?
Well, my last 4 years, I was general manager of Disney's horticulture at Walt Disney World. It was on the operating side. Bud Dare had called me, and he said, we're getting ready to revamp our project delivery process. It used to be when, WED would design a project, they'd, toss it over the partition to the contractors, and contractors would build it, and they'd toss it over to the final end user, their operations team, guys like you that have to live with it.
Right.
And Bud said, we're getting ready to revamp that. We're going to have a complete project team dedicated, and he's, so that everybody's at the table at one time, operations and maintenance, and everybody's. And he said, you've been on the design side, construction side, and we think you'd make a great addition to the team here on the operating side. Mm-hmm. So I said, sure, okay, let's give it a whirl. And so I took the position of general manager of Disney's horticulture, and
Wow.
so it completely changed the project delivery process for the better. And I'm sure you guys have lived through projects or had received projects that nobody asked you about, and you're handed with something that you've just you have to grit your teeth to make it right.
Right.
I mean, I saw it more than once over the years. So
I imagine, yeah. Well, Scott, thank you so much for talking with us. It was a lot of fun, and I got to learn a lot.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure, guys. And if you ever want to chat again, give me a shout. We'll get
together. We might want to like explore some of these projects more in depth with you sometime.
For sure. That'd be great.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
Great. Well, you guys have a good weekend.
Okay, that was episode 338.
338? Can you believe that? That's... Lynn, I want to say that in all sincerity, I appreciate all the work you do behind the scenes on the podcast. I know you put a lot of effort into it, and it doesn't happen by magic. So, good job, and thank you for handling all the technical stuff with the podcast. But as far as our guest goes, another great guest, and which of course Lynn procured, by the way, and Lynn usually sets that up. We get these guys, we get these people, these guys and gals who just give us a lot of insight into how things happen for Disneyland and why, and I just love it. It's like we're adding pieces to a puzzle. Every new interview is another few pieces in the puzzle, and I think it's great. It's wonderful to document all this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And definitely would like to have Scott back another time.
Yeah.
So this is the time where I read reviews that we get on Apple Podcasts. That's the app I use. I'm not saying it's the best one, it's just the one I use. Because people have said that they don't like it. But, so here we go. So if you want to leave a review, you can do that by going to Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts app, or whatever, how you can do that and leave a review, and we'll read it here. We really appreciate it. It helps us out a ton. So this one is titled Number One Disneyland Podcast. June 25th, 2022. Disneyland Dina. 5-star. You want to know about Disneyland? Here you go. They have knowledge from years gone by as well as present and future. You're going to love the show. Take a listen. Enjoy. The guests are always so interesting and fun. Thank you for all your hard work and sharing with us. Love to hear Jim Corcus. You have such great guests. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for that review.
Yes, thank you. Really appreciate it. So, also, like we had mentioned in the show, if you're going to be at D23 Expo, come by and see us. We will have buttons for our listeners and a way to purchase a physical copy of our audio books. And I say books because we will have both books on sale.
Yay!
In a physical audio format.
And I heard we got Gilbert Gottfried, the late Gilbert Gottfried, to record our second book and before he passed away. Is that true?
No. But I wish it was. That would have been really cool. Yeah.
Oh.
We have the next best thing, though.
Oh. All right.
Yeah. He was all we could afford, so.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay.
And that is, I'm talking about Ken, so.
Oh.
Yeah. They're all I could afford. Yeah, so, and then go to our website. We have a lot of cool stuff on there, t-shirts and everything. Come to the expo with the Sweet Spot t-shirt. That would be awesome.
Yes. Those shirts, you wear those and you're like the most popular person in the room. So,
It's true. We're not good salesmen. So, check all that out. The website has links to every, D23 Expo and our books. You can get them signed copies there. All that fun stuff is on our website, thesweetspot.com. Leave a review, and I think that's it.
Yeah, spread the word. Tell people how they can listen to the podcast. We're on YouTube. We're, in a lot of places. Just have them search for The Sweet Spot.